Ethan, Ethan was, he was the funny guy.
He was I used to say, a little Dennis the Menace when he was growing up.
He was the jokester. He was the big 6'5", kind of awkward kid for most of our lives.
Ethan was the funniest guy to ever talk to, ever. I'm the class clown as well. That's why we became really close friends.
Clothes never seemed to fit him ever. I just remember it was always, my mom was like, we need to go shopping for your brother because none of his clothes ever fit.
Ethan was definitely a guy who goofed around a lot.
You see Ethan, this tall, lanky, goofy guy, kind of just like, whoa, where am I?
Ethan was a sweetheart, just genuine guy, always looking out for everyone else. I wish he would have reached out.
I don't really remember most of the day. There's bits and pieces. I remember packing for Chicago. I was going on a girls' trip with my sorority sisters.
I had gotten a call from Ethan on Wednesday, and I tried calling him back, and he didn't answer, and then I hadn't heard from him. And I texted him several times, and it wasn't like him to not just text me back.
I was just kind of concerned with myself. I was, pretty much focused on Rachel and what I was doing that weekend and going on this trip.
On Friday, I was driving back from a doctor's appointment for my husband, and we were coming down I-25, and I said, I know we have a dinner, but I need to go straight to Ethan's. Like, I'm starting to freak out that something's going on, because why hasn't he called me?
I knew that my mom hadn't heard from my brother, and I think I had called him or texted him and said, hey, just checking in. I got his voicemail.
And so that's when the alarm bells started to go off in my head, because Ethan would have reached out to one of us. And so we drove straight there.
I just remember, I had my suitcase, my carry-on suitcase, and my friends were there to get me.
And when we pulled onto Pearl Street, I was so relieved because I didn't see his car. And I thought, okay, he's out. And then all of a sudden there'd been a construction truck there. And when I got out of the car, I saw his car was there on the other side. And that's when panic set in, because I knew something was really wrong, because I thought, he's home here, why isn't he communicating?
And I was like closing the front door, but I also remember I was trying to feed my parents' dog, and we didn't have any dog food. And so I remember being like, oh shoot, what should I feed Riley? My parents aren't here.
We couldn't at first get into the front door, so Matt went around to the side of the carriage house, and I was still trying the door, and all of a sudden it opened. So I went into the house by myself, and it was dark, and I walked around, was calling to him, and I thought, well, maybe he's fallen asleep, and I didn't want to startle him, so I was nervous. But like I said, my intuition was, oh my God, what's happened? I was so relieved when it looked like he just wasn't there. I was looking for him, and I realized that I was looking up for my 6'5" son. When I saw his feet, and I saw him laying there in his bedroom, and I knew right away because his eyes were open, and I was screaming, and Matt came running, and I knew he was gone. I didn't know what to do.
And I remember having my suitcase and turning out the lights, and right as I turned out the lights to go and close the door, my phone rang. And my mom, I don't even remember what she said. She just said, I think she said, you need to come to Ethan's house. And I said, is everything okay? And she said, no, it's not okay.
And then I heard the sirens of all the police coming, and the next thing I knew, somehow we were out of the house and in the police car.
It was just so cold. It was just one of those like frigid, like wet, cold nights. And it was just terrible, you know, it was just, you know, then the police officers are asking you questions, and it's just like the worst thing that somebody can experience. And, you know, they're asking for a social security number, and they're giving us like information to like report, you know, to the government that he's dead.
I can't even describe that night. Sometimes, you know, my mind goes back to the images and seeing him, and I try desperately to block that out. You know, that's something that you can never not see again. And, you know, I will live with that. But as a mother, strangely, I feel like I was the one that needed to find him. It was my place. I was there in the very beginning, and I was there at the end.
So the event format today, when we originally planned this, we assumed that it would be an intimate event that would have about a couple of hundred people, that we would be able to have some conversations around some of these things. And very quickly, as you see, that became untenable. And so the event today is really going to be introducing what this what the Suicide Prevention Task Force is, give you some information, and talk about how some of these areas can into suicide prevention. So we are going to have conversations like this throughout the next 4 or 5 years. We do want to hear. My name is Dwayne France. I'm a retired Army non-commissioned officer, a combat veteran, and a clinical mental health counselor. Family Care Center is a privately owned outpatient clinical mental health agency here in Colorado Springs. We primarily serve military, active duty military veterans, their families. And we want you to sign in with the name of who you're here for. So my Vietnam veteran father, who in the early 2000s was struggling significantly, and my first suicide intervention was with him by long distance over phone. So I would put my father's name down there. There's a number of different reasons why veterans are taking their own life. It's not all mental health. Connectedness is one of them, feeling connected to a community, feeling connected to others. And so that sense of social isolation, my wife knows that if I start to pull away or isolate, then that's something that, you know, hey, is everything okay? When we lose somebody, that is an immense pain. First, one of the common questions is, you know, what didn't I do, or you know, did I do enough, or you know, was I responsible for this in some way? There is a sense of a burden in that no matter how much I did, you know, there was something more that I could have done. Hi.
So nice to meet you.
Glad to be able to have you come.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome to my office.
Your job as a parent is to protect your child, to help nurture them, get them ready to launch in this world. I can't help but have guilt, even though I know, yes, I did a lot, but in the end, it wasn't enough. Ethan definitely suffered from PTSD, and I had talked with him about getting help, and his comment to me was, "Mom, I can't get help for that. If I'm labeled with PTSD, I can never get deployed again." Is that a true statement?
Veterans don't need much of a reason to avoid therapy. Any reason is a good reason, but one of it is a lot of them believe something will be taken away.
The other thing that you said about isolation, I feel like with Ethan, that was huge. And he would say, you know, Mom, it's never going to be the same.
A number of veterans, and not all the veterans that I see, experience PTSD because PTSD does not have a prevalence rate of 100%. But all but 3 veterans that I've seen in the last 5 years have said they struggle with finding meaning and purpose in their post-military life.
All right, well, I just want to show you what I've had in my hand this whole time we're talking, and that's Ethan. I mean, he's always right here in my heart, but I just love this picture of him that was taken when he was over in Afghanistan. Just the light and joy in his eyes. And toward the end, when he was at home and struggling, I look back at pictures and that light's not in his eyes.
I think that is one of the most important things is to remember those bright times, right? Remember the look in his eyes.
Yeah, it's a day-to-day struggle, but even though I have him right here in my hand, I can tell you, honestly, he is in my heart. He's with me every single day, and he drives my passion, my force of what I want to do to make this world a different place for veterans.
Don't mind us, just waiting on that.
Pants on.
Is that it?
We were waiting on
But-
Butt. He was out here in shorts.
Once you get comfortable stopping.
Leslie bringing us all out here has definitely meant a lot.
Being out here in Colorado has meant the world to me and my wife.
It's been an amazing experience here, like reconnecting with my brotherhood.
Having all these friends here, because some of them I might have met them at the service, but I was in such a fog and it was so overwhelming. To get to know them, to realize how genuine, how wonderful they are, down to earth, and they're showing me this whole dimension and this whole side of Ethan that, you know, I just love. I mean, they just said how he was just always cracking them up and always making jokes and fun. And, you know, it just makes me feel good that he was really happy.
It's beautiful to actually experience that group here in person, which is like a beautiful thing. You know, I never thought I could do this ever again, to be honest, because we're just so far from each other.
And at first I thought, Leslie, I was kind of backed up, like, Leslie, you can't pay for us to come out like this. You can't do all these nice gestures for us.
I was real nervous to see everybody. And then, you know, on the plane here, it just turned to excitement, you know, and it's been great. I mean, we didn't miss a beat. You know, we're all the same. So it's definitely exciting.
Well, I was, first of all, very, very impressed with Leslie in terms of her, if you want to say devotion and dedication to this cause and personalizing this for these gentlemen who did something extraordinary, and talking with them this past weekend was very enlightening for me, because I didn't really know the depth of what they went through when they were in Afghanistan.
I met Ethan for the first time in Afghanistan. Ethan graduated basic after I did from Fort Benning. I was fresh to the company as well. He was a new guy. I was a new guy.
You know, I was his roommate. Well, he was actually my roommate overseas, because I was there first, and then he got there middle of deployment, and he became my roommate in Afghanistan.
We met through the barracks, like, essentially, and then found out he was from Colorado, and we just kind of hit it off. It was one of those like, oh, you're from Colorado. We're friends now.
He did have a tougher time, I want to say, making friends. He was a skinny kid when since day one. So he was that tall, lanky kid and awkward. But these guys didn't care about anything else other than the fact that he was a good friend, that he told funny jokes, and that was it. The companionship was the real deal. And the point of this weekend, I guess, was to get them together, to allow them to have that. But I wanted to find some things out too. I wanted to ask some questions and see just what Ethan had gone through that he never told me about.
One of the first things that I think he went through that we both shared was on our first deployment. One of our former squad leaders, he was a squad leader for both of us at separate times in our careers, but he also late deployed with Ethan, and then within a month of late deploying, he had gotten killed over in our sister company in Bravo Company in Panjwai.
We first got there 2 weeks in, I guess they were trying us out. One of our guys got hit by IED.
You know, there's just this state of anxiety, or this level you walk around on for months. You know, you accept death to a point that you will never turn back. There's no coming back from it.
So I think that's probably stayed with Ethan. And because my son was never suicidal, never. And I guess that's why it was a shock to me. As much as I knew that he had struggles, I just never thought that he would do that. And I think having talked to the guys this weekend, now I realize, wow, when you take somebody's brain and you reprogram it to not look at death the same way, maybe it's very, very difficult to rewire that again.
For someone that hasn't been in the military, in my opinion, or in hindsight, like the infantry, the camaraderie and just the pack of having it. It's a good feeling to have someone that you could trust, you know? Like when I got out of the Army, it was just weird interacting with people, to be honest. I just didn't feel comfortable, and still to this day.
Me, it comes out in tears, but it's better than rage. It has been rage for years until I finally got help. It took my wife leaving to go to Wisconsin and saying, "You're gonna get help before I come home," last November after a failed suicide attempt. I started getting medication.
Am I in denial of PTSD? Yes, I am. Has it bring problems to my life? Yes. Am I struggling through my marriage because of it? Before I can never show emotion because of that guy that was built in the army of like, you gotta nut up, you gotta be a tough guy. And it's not good in a marriage because she doesn't know how I'm feeling.
In the last few days, personally, I think it kind of showed me the unconditional love that I've seen between these couples, but also I saw the struggles, and, you know, and I want to help that.
Being here this weekend, I think, has been very refreshing, but also it has been a time for, I think, not just Brian and I, but I think for all of us to remember Ethan, honor him, and more specifically to think about the struggles that a transition soldier actually faces.
I think it's been really important for Steven. It's something that he's needed. I know I've seen him just really struggle in the last few years. And when I know he needs help or he knows he needs help, these are the guys that I reach out to.
For Zuckwin, I think it's been really good because I feel like we've been out for about maybe like five years we've been out, and we haven't found like a group of friends like this.
I think it's really good for him to see because Danny has been struggling a little bit since he got out. So it gets kind of emotional because I live with him.
We're gonna make a toast. Okay, I just really want to thank you guys so much for traveling from all over the country. I mean, I cannot believe that you guys arranged your work schedules, left children at the drop of a hat to fly out here. And really, this was an idea that we had 2 years ago to try to put this reunion together and really keep the brotherhood and the camaraderie going.
She's been a beautiful person, and honestly, I don't even know how can I repay her.
This whole retreat here is for Ethan, and I know all of you are here for Ethan, and I feel like Ethan's been here throughout the weekend with us.
I think for Leslie it means maybe a reconnection or just to hear our stories, you know, see Ethan through our eyes that she hasn't really been able to experience.
And what I want to do is make sure that we all stay in each other's lives, and that maybe we can just make this a tradition and keep the brotherhood and camaraderie going and do this for Ethan, and make sure that, as some of you have said to me, that you wished Ethan would have reached out to you, that you had no idea how much he was struggling.
I think for Leslie, this is a good experience for her as well, because it's just like the same thing for us. It's just part of healing and then doing something about it.
So I want to try to educate everybody out there as well, and support systems as well as veterans, to get them any help that they need, and just to be there to talk, and also for you guys to all be there for each other. So let's all toast to Ethan and brotherhood of you guys. Yeah, so Ethan doesn't really live that far from me. As you can see, Wash Park, it runs about a mile along here, and he's probably like a mile from this end of the park where his carriage house is. And that's, I guess, another reason why I have some guilt, and because if I would have gotten that phone call, because sometimes when he had some issues in the past, once he called me, and you know, I could get to his house like within 5 minutes, and I could have gotten there, and unfortunately I missed that phone call. You know, it used to be a tough place for me to go, and I actually didn't in the beginning go there, because I just didn't even know what to do. I didn't want to let go of it, but it was such a dark place, and I was holding on to everything that was connected to Ethan, but I didn't know what to do. And somehow it came to me to build this like shrine to Ethan, and doing everything that he always wanted and he and I talked about. And it's amazing how different we made it, because we opened all of this up with all these windows, and then we moved the bathroom that Ethan and I had always talked about from over there to here, but it looks like it was always here. I mean, because we made use of the brick wall and kind of put in an old style tile. And then this is his bedroom. So nice, because he had a nice view outside of the courtyard, and being in here now, like I said, I try to never have that image, but this is where I found him, and he was laying on the floor, and you know, like I said, it went from such a dark place to just having to do something and not knowing what to do. This house kind of symbolizes kind of how I felt coming out of the darkness. It was my first baby steps to healing and trying to make something good out of something horrible. And I feel like when I'm in here, I feel like Ethan's smiling. I feel like he loves to see what became of his little house that he really adored, and it was my first step to, you know, to this new part of my life with healing on a broader scale and trying to step out from just being caught up in my own grief and my own issues to how do I take it a step further and how do I help Ethan's brotherhood.
If I could talk to Ethan, I would tear into his ass first. At the same time, I'd apologize. Truly is. I truly am sorry I wasn't there. Should have called me. I wouldn't care. Just couldn't just called. I've always been there for you, bro.
I've had a lot of thoughts about what I've talked to Ethan about. I mean, the first thing is I would probably fight him for not reaching out to me because I texted him that morning.
What I would tell Ethan, if I had a chance, and you know, I would ask him why.
If I could talk with Ethan, I'd honestly ask him, like, what the hell, man? Like, why didn't you just talk to me? Like, I was there with you. Like, it was just you and I, and it's frustrating.
If I could talk to Ethan, I'd just let him know that I love him and he's loved, and you know, I miss the hell out of him.
We've all had dreams about him just visiting in our dreams and just smiling at us, even if we don't have a conversation with him.
Hi, it's Mommy. I brought you a little stone again. Yours has sharp edges, like a little weapon that you would want to have. And mine is pink for Mom. Going back to Fort Logan, it's really tough for me to look at the gravestone and to think my boy is there, and I'll stand there and it'll be like surreal or a disbelief that how is he there? How is he in that cemetery? Like, I don't want to believe that really is true.
I don't like going. It's pretty jarring to see my twin brother's name on a tombstone, to see my birth date and his death date, our birth date and his death date on a tombstone.
I love you so much. I miss you every single day. Every day I tell you I'm sorry. And yeah, I'm so sorry.
You know, losing a child, I couldn't even imagine that pain You know, she's been so strong for all of us and everybody. But I know she's in so much pain, and I know she'll live with it for the rest of her life.
When I go there, I do feel a connection with him, and I talk to him a little bit, but I can't ever stay long. It's just too unreal, to be honest. Like, a mother shouldn't have to be at her son's grave. I miss you so much. It's so hard to come here because I hate to think about you being alone. I just wish you weren't alone. The other part is I feel that Ethan is with me so much. I can feel him putting his arms around me and hugging me. And he was the best hugger. When he was younger, I used to give him a hard time because he would, he's 6'5", and he would wrap those long arms around me and hug me, and he would just stay hanging on. And I used to go, Ethan, hug and release, hug and release. And now I just want him to hug me. It's like, you don't ever have to release, Ethan. I love you.